Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and it's that time again, y'all. Me and Michael are back with answering questions from the Utah students. I hope that y'all enjoy these episodes. We really enjoy doing them, right? But we're going to jump straight into this. Michael, go ahead and introduce yourself to those that don't know you, and then we'll go ahead and get straight to this letter.
It's nice to be here with everybody. Michael, for those who are new, I hope you stick around and listen to these conversations because we have some good conversations when it comes to these things.
Yeah, dig that. And look here, let's just get straight into it, right? We received a letter, you know what I'm saying, from our Utah student, Chad. You know what I'm saying? We are really excited about this letter. We didn't really understand what he meant in the last letter as far as answering the question. So he got a little bit more detail. Well, I'm not going to say a little bit more. He got detail with these questions. So we're going to have to dig deep. And Chad, I hope that these answers that we give you today are satisfactory. If not, hit us up again and we'll do the best we can to get into it and answer these questions, because we want people to really understand what it's like to be in here and what it's like to be somebody that's locked up, so that they'll do whatever it takes to avoid coming this way. This is not the life that you should want to live any way, shape, or form, right? So let's get to it. Let me look at this letter and find. Well, I'm gonna read a little bit of the letter if that's okay with you, Michael, because I think that I want these questions to be in context. You know what I'm saying, when we talk about. Because I think that if I just read the questions and answered them, people might miss out a little bit, right? So I'm gonna read just a little bit of the letter in places that I need to, so that you'll understand why. For those of you that are listening, you'll understand why, Chad asked us these questions, right? Okay, so here we go. Let me see. It was great to hear from you both. Sorry getting this letter out to you, you know what I'm saying, it took some time. Before I ask a few more questions, I wanted to reply to what you both covered in your last podcast. And I completely understand and agree with your perspective. It's not an officer's duty to punish. It is to make sure that you, the public, and officers are safe. Now, if you want to know what that means, go back and listen to the last episode that we did about the questions that we answered from Utah. And over the last two letters, I was aiming to dive into the daily activities and interactions between officers and offenders and how those interactions can change. And how does a sergeant and his or her staff change what you or others do? Does one crew get a different response from other inmates than another? And how do offenders act? Does it change the short-term atmosphere? Not that you need to respond to these. This is just what I was looking for and why I wrote my letter. But, we missed that.
Yeah.
Okay, so just keep in mind when we answer these questions that is the basis of what's going on with these questions that he asked us. And he said, for example, during a monthly chat with an offender on his caseload, one inmate got slightly emotional as he explained why he dreaded the days the crew, that means the officers that are on duty at that time, were not on shift. And he said, I realized just how impactful my crew's personality and work ethic was to the unit's function. Fights seldom happened and fever broke out on our watch. I would hear from other crews just how hard the offenders were to manage. Then when we were on duty, we didn't see it. You mentioned in the show that many offenders will do what they do, their criminal lifestyle, regardless of policies or consequences behind bars. Let me turn this over. Still, I felt a level of respect was given to my crew. Does this resemble anything either of you have experienced? Have you, Michael, I'm going to let you answer that first. Have you ever had a situation where, like, you have certain officers on during certain shifts and things were much better for everybody? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And versus
most definitely is, because it's like the vibe with the officers. When an officer comes in with an attitude, it seems like everybody's got an attitude around. It seems to rub off. So and like we were talking about before, that this place is a powder keg because of the way that they keep putting their foot on their neck. Do this, and nobody around here is doing the stuff that they're doing down the highway as far as criminal activity and all this gang banging and all this. It's not going on here, but they keep treating us like that, tightening the screw down, tighten it down. So that's it's like a spring. It's gonna eventually it's gonna bust.
Yeah, eventually, yeah. But let's put that into a little context as well. Like, and I agree with you because we have talked about that, right? But I think, and I'm not trying to explain away why they're doing it, but this is how I see that because I try to look at things from both sides. I think that they do that a lot because of the type of individuals that are coming here versus those in the type of individuals that were here before, right? Yeah. You're getting a lot more gang members. You're getting a lot more type of people that you have to be very, very strict with, right? So I think that's why they're doing that. But what that does, it makes the whole environment stressed out, intense.
Yeah, and instead of doing that, just show them how we do it around here, and they might enjoy that life.
Yeah,
they might help them get out of what they were doing. If you say, look, this is laid back, you do your time, whatever.
You don't have to worry about things here like you do at other places.
Yeah, you don't have to have your shoes on 24/7.
No, you don't have to do that. And what he means by that, in here and in prison, in most places, when you go to the shower, you got to wear your boots. So think about that. When you go to the shower at your house, you got your shower shoes on, or you may not even wear shower shoes. You cannot do that in prison. You know what I'm saying? In most prisons, not in this state, because that is one of the most vulnerable times when you're in the shower. And if you don't have any shoes and you get your grip on that ground when you come out of the shower, you might get jumped. Mm-hmm. That's just what it is. But let me try to answer that question that I just asked you, Michael. Depending on the officers that are on, the environment is straight. Yeah, it's safer, it's calmer. But what I will say is, like, we have those officers that some of us consider to be uptight, you know what I'm saying, too strict, right? But what I do notice with those particular types of officers, less things happen in the pod. But the trade-off is everybody's stressed out. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? They're not gonna do it because this officer is being hard, but there are those rare officers, man, that I've seen, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, but there are those rare officers that they know how to balance that. They know how to treat everybody with respect, so in turn they get respect. And what I mean by that is people are not going to be trying to smoke and do all of those types of things while they're there. Because
they come in and say, don't make me do my job.
Yeah.
As long as you're doing what you're supposed to, don't make me do my job.
Right.
So they don't do all that stuff.
Right.
But they're going to leave you alone. They're going to leave you alone. So that's the type that's better. You got a job to do. I'm not upset with you doing your job.
Yeah, do your job.
But don't overdo it. Don't come looking for things.
Right.
If somebody makes you do your job, do your job.
Yeah, but you got a lot of people that do these particular types of jobs, and they feel that it is their job to punish us.
Yeah.
They feel that, and I mean, I don't know if they train them in that way or not, but I've heard people say that. You know what I mean? But every officer doesn't do that.
Yeah,
they don't do that.
It's like they complained about when they had the T-Dot.
Yeah.
Why are they making all that kind of money in prison? I should be making that. Well, go get one of those jobs.
Yeah, you had officers upset. What do you mean by that? We had this program here, and guys would go out and work, and some of these guys over the course of months and years, they would be able to save up $20,000, $30,000. When they went home, they would get this money. You know what I'm saying? And you had some people that worked here, officers that were upset by that.
Yeah.
Just because people in blue, offenders, had the opportunity to earn money that was, equal to or more than what they were making, they were upset by that. And so they would do things to try to mess them up from that job. You know what I mean? Get them fired or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I've been in situations like that. Like Michael said, we've both been in situations like that, and it does depend on the officer. But it really depends on how that officer treats everybody. And those officers that treat everybody with respect, that does not mean that those particular officers let us do anything we want to do and get away with anything we want to get away. That's not what they do. What they do is say, don't make me do it. Let's just have a peaceful day or night, mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And whatever you intend on doing, just don't do it while I'm here, because if you do it, I have to write you up.
Exactly.
Now, again, like Michael said, they're not going to come looking for trouble. You feel what I'm saying? They're not going to come looking for things, but if they see it, they're going to do what they got to do.
Most definitely.
And that, that makes people want to, not get that officer in trouble, if that makes any sense.
Most definitely makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, the next question is, what are some things that the two of you and others do when you are not in a class programming or working? You know what I'm saying? what does your time on the yard look like, or and things like that?
My time has always consisted of better, doing something better to better myself. I'm always doing something kind of class, but it may not be a class for credit, but I'm doing something to better myself. And people always ask, why do you take these college classes? You don't get any credit for it. It's not about the credit all the time. It's about the education.
Yeah.
So in my spare time, that's how I picked up the HVAC.
Yeah.
And reading the CDL book.
Right.
I met a guy, came to our criminal justice class, babe, when Dr. King was the professor.
Right.
And he did like 38 years in Florida and was wrongly convicted. Let him out of 38 years. So he came and talked to us, and he said that his thing was he always thought back to what his dad taught him playing baseball. He was a shortstop, and he always taught him no wasted moves. No wasted moves. Just kick the ball, everything's in one move. So that's what he did his whole incarceration. No wasted time. Use that time.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of the same. I spend most of my time thinking about how I can improve my podcast show and what shows me and Michael might be able to do. Just different ideas, trying to come up with ways to be more productive through my podcast. That's what I do. Now, when it comes to the ball field, I work in the gym, so I'm mostly, if I'm at work on the ball field, I'm trying to make sure all the equipment is accounted for, and I walk and talk to some of the guys every now and then, but it's not as violent as some places that I've been. Other places I've been on the ball field is where it's going down. You know what I mean?
Most definitely.
Yeah, and it was not uncommon to be walking on the ball field and having to step over somebody that had been knocked out or OD'd or stuck on. It just walk right over them and keep on moving because it's hard to explain, right? But in here, lending a helping hand can cause you to get killed. Yeah, they're gonna come at you, and that's hard. You don't get to express your humanity in here the way that you really want to.
Yeah.
And over time, it becomes a part of you. You know what I'm saying? Would you agree or disagree with that, Mike?
It most definitely is. Because, you got to think, back in the day, in the penitentiary, they put you on the ball field by yourself. There's no officer out there on the ball field.
Yeah.
So there's no running for help. You're locked in behind that gate. That's
right.
it. You go out there on the ball field. You're on your own.
Yeah, and it's not like TV. It's not like TV.
They don't have them guns out there and everything ready.
They ain't finna walk on no ball field with no gun. They gonna get that gun took from them. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's not that type of party, right? All right. The next question is they want to know what you think about the absence of trust. Now, this is a question that really got me. How do you cope with not being able to lock or unlock, open or close a door when you want? Now, deal with that trust part first, though, Michael.
For me, trust has to be earned. That's not something I just give to somebody to my trust. So,
and let me put this into a little perspective too. And I know, I think he's talking about the trust between us and people that work here.
Oh, that's still the same. It still needs to be earned. It still needs to be earned because I'll go back to the whole situation about when I tried to get my HVAC, tried to get the class. They didn't have my best interests in heart, because they said I had too much time to take the class. But then they stick us in the CMS, which is career management for success.
Right.
What career am I managing if you're saying I have too much time?
Right.
Whereas I could be using this HVAC while I'm in here and doing this. So that ruins stuff for me. Trying to get this CDL, I can't get the help. So my sister's like, well, what does your case manager do? They're just here to get a paycheck. She's like, why in the world are they not helping you? They don't care.
Right.
So,
and I think it's more, and I agree with you on that, but I think it's more that the system does more of what's in the system's best interest versus the people that are in it's best interest.
Because they want to keep us around because we're good workers. But they don't want you to go get your education or anything.
Because exactly. So that right there, not looking out for my best interest, right? No matter how much time I may be doing, that makes it hard to trust somebody in a position of authority. You know what I mean? Yeah, I have to do what they say, and I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna listen to them, but I don't have to give you my trust.
And that goes back to the incident, if you remember, a long time ago about the cell phone thing. When I worked maintenance, and I was patching a hole up in the ceiling. And in that hole were 2 cell phones.
Right.
So I'm like, man, what in the world is this? So I asked somebody what these were. Were they his?
Yeah.
He was like, no, I think they're so-and-so. That he's like, but no, we can sell them. I said, look here, I don't really want to get into that because I don't want to have to whoop this dude about his stuff.
Right.
Nah, he ain't gonna do nothing. So all right, go ahead. Let's see what we can get out of there. I fell for it. Go ahead and see what you can get.
Right.
But this idiot goes back and says something to the person that was actually hiding the things up there for the guy.
Right.
So the guy got wind of it and was like, "Hey, I heard you found my phones up there." I said, "Well, I don't know what you're talking about." So we end up into it about the phones. Which, keep in mind, down the highway, they would have been shocked, and he had to accept that.
What he means when he says down the highway, that means that another prison that is way more different than this prison. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, so we get into it about this thing, and he comes to me every day talking about he's gonna whoop me about this phone if I don't give it back to him. Yeah, okay, we do this. Yeah. You're still not gonna get the phone back. So whatever you want to do, we're gonna do.
Yeah.
So I was talking to a friend of mine, and he's like, "Well, do you trust anybody? Anybody that you can let know to resolve the situation?" I was like, "Well, yeah, there's an officer that I trust." He said, "Well, do you trust him to be able to let him know that, and so you'll be fair?" It's like, yeah, and it was only one person, one person out of all these people. Because see, if I had went to somebody that I didn't trust and told them that, I'd have been labeled a snitch.
You would have,
because they would have been going around telling people,
and they would have
spread it out.
They would have done that, and that is really hard in here when something is going on and you want to do the right thing. You want to do the right thing, but you know that if you do it by going to somebody in authority and saying, "Look, I found this," right? No. Yeah. Lock you up, pin an investigation for 7 days. They're going to twist your arm. They want a name. They want this. They want that.
Who brought it?
All of that. Yeah. All of that. It's all that kind of stuff. And then if they don't do that, like you said, before that day's out, you will be labeled a snitch.
Most definitely.
Everybody will know. Everybody will know what you did, and you were just trying to do the right thing. And that's what makes it hard. And it's the absence of trust interferes with a person's ability to change.
Most definitely.
Period. And developing that trust would take the system making a complete turnaround. Because how do you, but let me say this first before I get to that. You have officers that will take the time and nurture that. And they have this ability not to cross the line. So if they can do it, it means everybody should be able to do it, right? But these particular officers, they get labeled, you're too cozy with the inmates, you're too cozy with the offenders, right? Yeah. And they run them off. Or they put them on posts where they can't, you can't get to them, right? And it is a sad thing, but they'll have us around officers that we can't trust, but we have no choice but to go to them if a situation comes up. So we rather just not go to them. And it makes it hard to become a better person. You can talk being a better person all day, but you have to practice it. You have to practice it. The same way we became the type of person that would commit the type of crimes that we committed to get in here, that happened over time. Yeah. So it's going to take time and good people, meaning the people that work here, in my opinion, that's who we're around more than anybody else, other than the ones that we live here with. It's going to take time to develop those types of relationships, but those relationships, they have to be two-way. It can't be one way. I can't be held to a standard that the officer or the staff person or the warden or anybody else is not going to be held to. It can't be about you give to me and I dog you out.
Yeah, because it was a captain that he had good intentions. This guy went up for parole and he went to his parole hearing. He had real good intentions speaking for him. He's a good guy. He did this, he did that. All his information pans out.
Right. Yeah. Popped him just like that.
Just like
that's what made him a good inmate. Yeah. He told you so.
All his information pans out.
Exactly. And that's just not fair. You know what I mean? But how do you deal with that? That follow up to that is going to how do you cope with not being able to lock and unlock your door and close your door when you want to?
I guess I've gotten so used to it after been locked up for so long. It doesn't. I guess it boils down to they got a job to do. They need to get up and do the job. Open my door.
Yeah.
Because you want the door locked, I'm gonna leave it open.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave the door open because here you don't have to lock your door here. But again, down the highway, you better lock that door because somebody's coming in.
Take everything.
And even back in the day, they were getting in there anyway.
Yeah, the police gonna let them in there.
Yeah, and then when we had keys, some of the keys opened certain doors.
Yeah, exactly.
So they figured that out and was able to get it. So if you're not one that's has a reputation of getting down, that you don't.
They know. Yeah, don't mess with him.
Yeah, don't mess with you. Then they're gonna steal
try
from
you. For me, I'm gonna answer that like this, man. It's hard for me because everything about things like that, those restrictions, to me that affects my expression of my humanity. By not being able to do those small things, it messes with me. Even after all of these years, I want to be able to control that space. You know what I mean? Mm. But I can't. I can't control that space. I cannot control that space. And it bothers me. But I do what I have to do over these 35 years. I've just gotten used to giving that away, and hoping that it don't mess me all the way up when the day comes that I'll get fortunate enough to get out of here. Right?
I leave it as a notch. It's like it's another notch in the trees. Says to not come back to prison, to not commit another crime. This is why you don't commit a crime. You don't have any freedom to do what you want to do. Like my brother-in-law was saying, hey, when you get out, we'll barbecue and stuff. We can do this and do that. Mm-hmm. I said, man, I just want to go outside at night. I just want to walk down the street at night.
Absolutely. Go to the refrigerator and drink some orange juice straight out the car.
Eat off of a silver, a spoon,
a real spoon,
a metal, something. Clink. You hear to hit your teeth and stuff.
Yeah, not a sport where I dip it in my cereal and I can't give up 2 pieces of the cereal in the spoon. Yeah, I want to use some real silverware, stuff like that. But that's an example of how that erodes away at that. You know what I'm saying? You just get the feeling like you're just not. I don't deserve to eat off of real silverware. But I want to say something about what you said. I don't know if that really helps me to say, no, I don't want to be in prison because I can't do this and can't do that. Again, for me, it's that bigger part of it's almost like it takes something away from me. You know what I'm saying? And well, I guess I'm saying the same thing you're saying in a different way. So let me get on to this next question. Do you feel that the ability of others, meaning officers, to put trust in you is gone or extremely limited? And how about your ability to trust other offenders and them trust you? Is this fair?
So as far as the officers trusting me?
Yeah. Do you believe that the ability to trust them or them trust you is gone or extremely limited?
I think the officers that know me trust me, but that doesn't mean that I trust them. Mm-hmm. But they because somebody had made a comment the other day. It was like, well, if I get in trouble, I'm just gonna go to Coleman. He'll take care of it. Mm-hmm. he can talk to so and so and this and that. Mm-hmm. No, that's not true. Yeah, that's not at all true.
Exactly.
My reputation is my reputation. Right. I do what I do. I can do what I do because of who I am and what I've done over all these years. You. Yeah, that's all that's about. Mm-hmm. So if the fence was to fall, I'm trustee and I go downtown. Anywhere. I go anywhere. I'm going to my room and lock the door.
Right.
So
exactly. I get that. I don't know. I think when you got to define that for me, trust. You know what I'm saying? An officer putting trust in me, does that mean that officer trusts me to come and tell them something and something's going on? Yeah. Or do you mean that officer can put trust in me knowing that if something is going on, I'm not involved in it? You know what I'm saying? I think you need to define that a little bit more for me to answer that, man, because
I would hope that a female officer around here would trust me enough to know that there's no way in the world I'm gonna let somebody do something to me.
Absolutely. But I'm gonna go a step further, man. I would hope that any of them would know that I wouldn't allow somebody to hurt them. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So what would you do in a situation in a certain sergeant was getting whooped? Would you get him up off him, or would you just be like, hey, bro, you gonna go to jail? You might want to stop that. or are you gonna get?
Honestly, man, I would help him, man, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because it's really not about dude. And I know you're getting at some of these officers around here that might deserve it, you know what I'm saying, from some people's standpoint, right? But it really wouldn't be about that officer.
It's about you. It's about what you. I mean, your moral compass.
It's my moral compass, right? It's about who I am and how I see the world, and that even though that person has on a uniform, right, they're a human being, and I'm telling you, I say that knowing that I struggle with that. You feel what I'm saying? Because there's times when I look at them like, oh Lord, but I've come to that place in my mind and my heart that if I want people to see me that way, I have to see them that way. I don't have to agree with everything that they do.
I hope and pray that if
it's hard now.
Hope it doesn't ever happen.
Yeah.
But I would pray that if it did, that I would assist, because watching Most Shocking, there was one of this officer sitting behind the desk in the county jail, and this guy walked behind him and started beating him.
Yeah.
And all the other guys came and helped the officer, got him up off of him. They held him down till the backup guy there. I would hope that a situation like that would happen right here, but I think it would just be me and you.
I think it would just be me and you. I do. I really do. Yeah. And then I think that after that we might need to turn our backs and get back to back because they're gonna come it up.
Because they're gonna be like, man, the police.
What's wrong with y'all?
Yeah.
So. But and also this next part of this question is you're gonna trip out the way I'm gonna answer that. And he says, how about your ability to trust other offenders and them trust you?
I don't really trust other offenders much.
It's hard, ain't it?
You can't.
It's hard
because people. If you're not good at reading people, you can't trust anybody in here.
Yeah,
you cannot trust it because people look like they have good.
They popping it.
They have ulterior motive, man, and it's sad, man, because you think that this person is doing what you're doing. I use my brothers as brothers that are witnesses, that have been with the Jehovah's Witnesses for a long time, and then I have another brother that's he's not on that level, but Mississippi.
Right.
I can trust that man with my life.
Right.
That's my brother, and I know that he'll have my best interest at all times. So it's a rarity to be able to find something like that.
Right.
And I trust you completely.
Right, absolutely. And I trust you, absolutely.
It is hard.
And I gotta answer it the same way. I didn't know you were gonna answer it like that, but this is what's weird. I'm reluctant to say that on this show because I don't want people to look at everybody in here and think like, man, it's hard to trust them. But what I would want to say to people is that you have to take your time with people in here to get to know them and understand that most of the time they're going to try to pop it, right? Yeah. But you got to understand that is how they've been coping with life.
Yeah.
And you got to correct them. See, that's what those good officers, those good administrators, you know what I'm saying, they won't punish them and kind of like and help me if I'm with the right terminology here. Like it's almost like that the punishment that they put on us for acting a certain way validates to the individual that that's how they should act. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So don't give them what they want. Give them that correction. But don't validate them. Don't give them that ammunition where they can say, man, you can't trust them anyway. That's why I treat them. That's why I act the way I act.
Yeah.
Don't give them that. You got to break them from that. And I'm not talking like how you break a horse. Don't get it twisted. It's just that, you have people in here that have been conning forever.
Yeah.
And it is not easy to stop conning because that's how they eat. That's how they live. That's what makes them feel comfortable. And if you really want the best for them, you got to plant those seeds that's going to break that.
And I totally agree because in high school, me and my sister had this conversation. In high school, they use the term at risk. Mm-hmm. What was I at risk for? In my mind, they're thinking, black boy, he's at risk, he's going to go to prison. Yeah. And that's the narrative I had that, from as early as I can remember, I always knew that I was going to graduate high school, go to college, join the military, and then after military, be a police officer.
Right.
And how in the world I end up like this?
Oh my goodness.
Because of that narrative that put in my head, this at risk. This at risk. At risk for what?
Good point.
And then my sister explained, well, you are technically at risk because you come from a single family home. She's an educator. So you come from a single family home. I said, you guys need to change that narrative. You know,
and the thing, and if you know that, then y'all need to be filling the gap.
Exactly. Nobody was trying to help. Nobody was trying to help anything.
I get you analyzing me, collecting all this data and saying it, but then fill the gap before it gets to the point where I'm in the penitentiary telling this story. You feel what I'm saying?
Come on.
Yeah. Can we do something? Yeah, I get what you're saying, but yeah, help me before I get to that point where I fall off the cliff. And now let me read this next question. He said that the students were fixated on the absence of trust, and he asked them to imagine living their lives without being able to trust others and no one trusting them. Needless to say, they struggled and they wanted to know how hard it is for you to move forward with that daily reminder. So, should there be more trust put in those that are in jail or prison?
It's on the person. It's on that person, because I can't. That's a blanket. You know, I couldn't say that's a blanket statement, because everybody that knows me trusts me. But everybody I know, I don't trust.
Absolutely.
So I'm not, it doesn't bother me that I can't trust people. It doesn't really bother me, because I guess because I've been a loner in here for so long, it really doesn't bother me. Mm-hmm. Because those in my circle I can trust, and those outside the circle, you know, you're doing what you do. Just leave me alone.
Right. I'm going to answer that like this. I think that a structure needs to be put in place with how our counselors, the officers, all the people that come in contact with us on a daily basis, multiple times, a structure, training needs to be put in place for them to understand how to get to that point to where they can trust us. Things that they need to be doing to help us get to, so they can get to that point where they can trust us. Don't allow people don't allow that the idea of doing your job, whatever that means in here to people, don't allow that to withhold treating another person like a human being. Don't allow yourself to do that. But at the same time, while doing your job, do those things that are going to help us, really help us. Telling me to pull my pants up, yeah, that helps me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really help me on the inside. You feel what I'm saying? You want me to look good. You want me to look proper. You understand what I'm saying? But you're not worried about what's going on the inside. I'm still sour. Yeah. You feel what I'm saying? That's what I think needs to be done. And that will allow people that are in authority to be able to put more trust in the people. Because, see, you've done that work yourself. Mm-hmm. You feel what I'm saying? Your work ethic, how you carry yourself, how you conduct yourself, your integrity, and all this and that. People, they respect you for that.
Yeah.
You feel you earned that. But that needs to be copycat. That needs to be mimicked. You feel what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That formula to get to that point to where people can trust you, that needs to be mimicked. And the people that are in authority need to learn how they can draw that out, how they can nurture that out of people.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? That are incarcerated. And now that will be hard, but you know, you chose this job. If you really want to do the right thing as far as making society safe, make our community safer, you have to be more invested in the individuals that are incarcerated. Period, point blank.
Yeah, and I think it goes to where the people that are working here need to be observant and know who they're dealing with. Don't treat everybody under the blanket, under this umbrella, right, that everybody's going to act like this. Because long time ago, a guy went over parole, and Dr. King went to speak at his parole hearing.
Right.
The guy gets out, no contact with her, nothing, you know, avoids her. So she's hurt. So she's like, I'm not going to anybody else's parole hearing. I said, Dr. King, you can't think of it like that. There are people that are deserving. I said, but I'm going to tell you something that's going to hurt. But the man showed you who he was.
She didn't believe it.
You should have paid attention to it. Right. He told you who he was, so you got to believe him.
Right.
So that's what I think the people need to do. When a person shows you who they are,
believe it.
Yeah, most definitely believe it.
Yeah, believe that. Believe that. Well, I'm gonna end it like this, man. I think that people in here, they do deserve another shot, but I think prison needs to be less concerned with the punitive aspects of, you know, you catch somebody doing something and you throw them in the hole, or you know, whatever, you write them up. You need to be more curious about why they did that and why they continue in that behavior. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And try to break that. You got all these psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, and all these folks ain't figured out nothing other than to put you on some dope. That don't make sense to me.
None.
That don't make sense to me. You zombie people out. Don't get me wrong, you know, it's good people to do that. You know what I'm saying? My sister's a therapist. She'll crucify me if she thought I was over here saying something against therapists. I believe in therapists, y'all, so don't get it twisted. But what I'm saying is that the people in authority need to be more curious about the behavior that people in here exhibit versus punishment first for that behavior. You understand what I'm saying?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
With that, we're going to end this episode. You got anything else you want to say, Mike?
That was a good one.
Yeah, dig that. Appreciate you doing that, man. Look here, this has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.